The Forbidden Throne Hall. Ambassador Dante Rivera had heard many warnings before arriving on Kalara Prime. Everyone told him the same thing again and again. Do not go near the alien queen. They said Queen Lysera was cold like ice, powerful like a living storm, and older than any human kingdom. They said one wrong step, one wrong word, one wrong breath could end his life. But when Dante finally entered the Forbidden Throne Hall, he realized something deeper. It was not only fear that surrounded the queen, it was mystery, and mystery was always more dangerous than fear. The throne hall looked like a place built by gods, not by any living species Dante knew. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness, almost like a sky inside a building. Soft glowing crystals grew from the walls in beautiful patterns that looked like moving constellations. The floor was polished black stone that reflected every figure like a mirror of space. Everything felt alive, as if the hall itself was watching him. Around him stood hundreds of Kalarans, tall and elegant beings with skin that changed color with their emotions. Their long ears and bright eyes made them look like living artwork. But their expressions toward Dante were not friendly. Some eyes showed curiosity, others annoyance, and some open dislike. Humans were new in the galaxy, and many Kalarans did not think humans deserved to stand in this sacred hall. Dante stood exactly where the protocol said, 15 paces from the great throne. Beside him stood Morgan, his chief advisor, who looked more stressed than any human he had ever seen. She whispered nervously, begging Dante to stay quiet, stay serious, and not try to be funny. Dante tried to listen, but his heart was beating too loudly in his chest. Then the hall fell silent, a silence so complete that it felt like the entire world had stopped breathing. The queen arrived. Queen Lysera walked in with slow, perfect grace. She was taller than all the others, her skin a calm, silver blue that showed full emotional control. Her robes floated around her like flowing starlight, changing colors with every step she took. Crystals on her ears reflected rainbow light across the hall. But her face was the most striking. She was beautiful, but in a distant and cold way, like a beautiful statue carved from cosmic ice. Her violet eyes moved across the hall without emotion, judging everything, attaching meaning to nothing. Every being in the hall bowed. Even Morgan bowed so low her forehead almost touched the floor. Dante bowed too, keeping his eyes lowered as he had been told. The queen sat on her throne, and her voice echoed across the hall. Rise, she commanded. Everyone stood straight again, including Dante, though he kept his eyes lowered respectfully. Then she spoke words that shocked the entire room. Ambassador Rivera of Earth, she said, you may approach. Morgan froze beside him. This was wrong. This was not in the rules. Ambassadors were never supposed to approach the queen unless one of her advisors called them. But the command came directly from Queen Lysera herself. Dante took a breath and slowly stepped forward. He counted each pace carefully. 10, 11, 12. He stopped exactly at 15 paces again, the closest distance allowed without breaking protocol. He bowed once more. Your Majesty, he said softly, I am honored to be here on behalf of humanity. The queen studied him with eyes that felt like they pierced straight through him. Her face stayed emotionless. But then something unbelievable happened. Her silver blue skin shifted for half a second, turning just a little warmer in tone. Dante almost doubted his own eyes. It was the first sign of emotion she had shown in 50 years. Present your documents, she said calmly. Dante pulled out the certificates, trying not to look nervous. I have 3 of them, he said. But honestly, they all look very official to me. Morgan made a small sound that almost sounded like she was dying inside. Joking in front of the queen was absolutely forbidden, yet the queen's skin flickered again. Just a small change, like a drop of warmth passing through her cold exterior. You may observe the council, she said. Perhaps you will learn something of ancient rule. Her voice was calm, but Dante heard something else in it. Something strange, something curious, like she was trying to understand him. Hours passed as nobles presented reports and argued with elegant formality. Everything was rules, rituals, measurements. A dance of politics older than human civilization. The queen stayed composed, but Dante noticed small reactions every now and then. Tiny shifts in her skin color, tiny movements in her eyes. For the first time, he realized she was not a perfect machine of protocol. She was a person, one who was trying very hard to hide emotions from the world. After 2 long hours, a recess was announced. Servants brought food and drink. The hall relaxed, but only slightly. Everyone returned to their social circles, except one pair of eyes that still watched Dante. Queen Lysera's eyes, and in that moment, Dante felt it clearly. Something was beginning between them, something no one in the galaxy was prepared for. She sat beside the human. The recess in the throne hall lasted only a few minutes, but for Dante Rivera, it felt like the entire galaxy had changed. Because even as the nobles stepped away into their formal groups, even as servants moved quietly with trays of glowing food, Dante felt a heavy gaze on him. He did not need to look to know whose it was. Queen Lysera, the most feared and untouchable being in the Kalaran Empire, was looking directly at him. Morgan grabbed Dante's arm and whispered sharply, "Do not look at her. Do not respond. Do not move." But the warning came too late. The queen rose from her throne, her shimmering robes drifting like light in water. The hall fell silent again. Every noble froze, mid-step, mid-breath, mid-thought. The queen walked forward, not toward the nobles, not toward her advisors, but toward Dante. Whispers spread through the hall like a sudden storm. No one in living memory had ever seen Queen Lysera leave her throne during a recess, and never ever had she walked toward a foreign ambassador. Dante felt his heart pounding. He remembered every warning, every rule, every desperate lecture Morgan gave him. Do not approach the queen. Do not speak unless she commands. Do not make sudden movements. But Queen Lysera was the one breaking all the rules now. She stopped in front of him, her violet eyes studying him with a strange intensity. Her voice was calm but held something new. Something warmer, something dangerous. "You stand differently from other humans," she said. "You observe instead of react." Dante blinked slowly, unsure if he should answer. Morgan looked like she was praying for him to stay silent, but the queen spoke again before he could decide. "Walk with me," she said, and the hall erupted into shocked murmurs. "Your Majesty," one elder advisor said. "Protocol forbids." Queen Lysera lifted one hand slightly, and the advisor fell silent instantly. Her authority was absolute. Even the air felt like it obeyed her. She began walking toward a raised platform near the throne, a long curved seat made of glowing stone. It was known as the Council Bench, a place where only royal advisors were allowed. No foreigner had ever stepped near it. Dante followed her because refusing was impossible. Then something happened that shook the room even more than her command. The queen sat down, and instead of gesturing for her advisors, instead of calling her nobles, she tapped the space beside her. "Sit," she said softly. "Ambassador Rivera." Morgan made a sound like she was choking on her soul. The nobles stared with disbelief so intense it was nearly painful. Even the guards looked frozen, unsure if the queen had gone mad or if destiny was unfolding before them. Dante sat slowly, the stone warm under him. He could feel every eye in the hall burning into his back. The queen sat close enough that he could feel the faint warmth of her presence. Kalarans were not known for physical nearness. Their entire culture believed distance was a form of respect, so her sitting beside him was not just unusual, it was shocking. It was the equivalent of rewriting an entire cultural law in front of the entire court. "Do you know why I asked you to sit here?" she asked quietly. Dante shook his head, unsure if he should speak. The queen continued anyway. "I reacted to you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her skin shifted slightly, a soft warm silver moving over her arms. A sign of emotion, a sign no one had seen from her in 50 years. Dante swallowed. He had no idea what emotion she was showing. Curiosity, interest, confusion. But it was something, and that something was dangerous, because every noble in the hall was witnessing it, and they did not like it. One noblewoman stepped forward, her skin glowing bright red, a deep sign of anger. Your Majesty, the human is manipulating you, she declared. He must be removed at once. Dante felt the guards shift, ready to move. But the queen did not look at the noblewoman. Instead, she kept her eyes fixed on Dante. Do you feel fear? She asked him. He answered honestly. Yes, he said, his voice low. But not from you. Her eyes softened, a tiny reaction that no other human would have noticed. But Dante saw it. He felt it. For a moment, it felt like she was looking at him as a person, not as a representative of a primitive race. Good, she said. Fear keeps you alive. The noblewoman tried again, louder this time. Your Majesty. Queen Lysera finally looked at her, and the entire hall felt the temperature drop. My decisions require no approval, she said, and no explanation. The noblewoman stepped back immediately, her skin turning pale blue with fear. The queen returned her attention to Dante. You have something in you, she said, a presence I cannot explain. Dante frowned. I'm just a diplomat, he said quietly. No, she said firmly. You are something else. Her voice sent a strange chill through him. Not fear, not danger. Something older, something he could not name. Then the queen lifted her hand, just slightly, and touched the glowing seat beneath them. The stone responded instantly, lighting up in spiraling symbols. Gasps filled the room. The council bench had not responded to anyone in generations. Certain Kalarans had tried, even royal bloodlines. But it remained cold and still. Yet now, with Dante sitting beside her, it awakened. The queen whispered, almost to herself, It reacts to you. Dante felt a vibration rising through the stone, traveling through his legs, his spine, his chest. Something ancient was waking up. Something tied to him. Something the queen had sensed the moment she saw him. Before anyone could speak, the hall trembled. A deep, distant rumble echoed like thunder through the palace walls. Lights flickered, crystals dimmed. Guards rushed to the edges of the hall, weapons drawn. A messenger sprinted forward, skin bright yellow with panic. Your Majesty, he cried, an unknown fleet has entered orbit. They are demanding one thing. The queen rose slowly, her eyes sharp as blades. And what do they demand? She asked. The messenger swallowed, shaking. They demand the human ambassador. Dante felt the entire hall turn toward him, every eye watching him like he was suddenly the center of a coming storm. And the queen's skin shifted again, not with fear, but with fury, a protective fury no one had ever seen from her before. She whispered one sentence that froze the whole galaxy in place. They will not take him. The queen's secret vision about humanity. The throne hall shook again, stronger this time, and dust fell from the ancient ceiling like falling stars. Nobles stumbled, guards spread out, and the glowing crystals pulsed red in warning. But Queen Lysera did not move from where she stood. Her violet eyes were fixed on the trembling walls as if she had been waiting for this moment. Dante's pulse hammered in his ears. He was just an ambassador, a normal human with normal history. Yet somehow an entire hostile fleet had come across the galaxy asking for him. Morgan grabbed Dante's arm with a shaking hand. We need to leave. Now, she whispered, her voice trembling. But before she could pull him away, the queen lifted one hand, commanding silence without a word. Ambassador Rivera will stay, she said, her voice firm as steel. Morgan froze mid-step. No one disobeyed the queen, not even out of panic. The floor glowed beneath their feet as the queen walked toward the inner doors behind the throne. Dante, she said quietly, follow me. His heart jumped. In all of Kalaran history, no human had ever been taken into the inner sanctum of the palace. Even most nobles had never seen it. The doors were carved from translucent stone, shifting like liquid glass. As they opened, the hall behind him erupted in whispers. But Dante had no choice. The queen had chosen him. They stepped inside a long corridor lit by floating lights. The air felt heavy, almost sacred. Dante did not know where they were going, but he felt something pulling at him. Something inside him recognized the place, even though he had never been here before. The queen walked in silence, her robes drifting like silver clouds. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft and tense. "What you saw in the hall, the bench reacting, that has not happened in centuries." Dante swallowed. "It wasn't because of me," he said. "I didn't do anything." The queen stopped and turned toward him. "You exist," she said. "That is what you did." He had no answer. He could only follow her deeper into the restricted chambers. They reached a door shaped like an ancient star, glowing faintly with runic symbols. "This," the queen said, "is the throne memory chamber." Dante felt a chill crawl up his spine. "What is it?" he asked. "A place where the galaxy writes its wounds," she said, "and where prophecy chooses its heirs." Her skin shifted warmer, just slightly. The small emotion made her look almost human for a moment. "You must enter with me," she said. "Only then will you understand why you cannot be taken by the fleet above." The door opened with a soft sound, and a wave of cold air washed over them. Inside the chamber, the walls were made of flowing light, forming moving patterns of stars, wars, extinctions, and rebirths. It was like standing inside the universe's memory. Dante felt his legs weaken, his chest tightened with a strange, overwhelming emotion he did not recognize. The queen stepped forward and lifted her hand, touching a glowing circle in the center of the room. Instantly, the lights formed images. A cosmic battlefield, burning worlds, collapsing stars, and a dark enemy rising from the void. Dante felt his breath catch. He saw a figure standing alone against an entire invading force. A figure shaped like a human. The queen looked at him, her expression unreadable. "This vision appeared 5 years ago," she said, "and has repeated every night since." Dante stared at the figure in disbelief. The silhouette was blurry, but the outline, the build, even the posture. He recognized it. It looked like him. "This is impossible," Dante whispered. "I am a diplomat. I am not a soldier. I am not chosen." But the queen stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. "You do not understand," she said. "The chamber never shows the same person twice until you came." The walls shifted again, showing a new vision. A large throne of ancient metal, floating in an empty void. A symbol of a star with a broken core pulsed on its center. Then a voice echoed through the chamber, not loud but ancient. "The last bloodline returns. The maker of the Star Forge rises again." Dante flinched. The words felt like they entered his bones. His skin felt tight, like something dormant inside him was awakening. He took a shaky step backward. "No," he said. "This is not me. I'm nobody." Queen Lacera reached forward and touched his wrist. It was the first time her hand had touched his skin. A warm spark shot through him like electricity. Her voice softened. "You are not nobody," she said. "The chamber reacted the moment you arrived on this planet." He shook his head. "But why would an alien prophecy show a human?" The queen's skin darkened slightly, signaling sorrow. "There is a truth your species does not know," she said. "Humans are not new to this galaxy." Dante's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "You come from a forgotten lineage," she said, "one that vanished long before our empires were born." She pointed at the glowing throne again. "That throne belongs to your ancestors." The room trembled suddenly, the visions flickering. Dante stumbled as the chamber shook violently. Lysara tightened her grip on his arm to steady him. A messenger's voice echoed from outside, muffled but urgent. "Your Majesty, the enemy fleet has begun charging a planet-killer weapon." The queen's eyes widened. Not with fear, with fury, she looked at Dante, her voice a whisper full of meaning. "They are not here to take you," she said. "They are here to erase you." The lights in the chamber darkened. A deep rumble spread through the palace walls, and the final prophecy image appeared before them, glowing bright like a newborn star. It showed Dante standing beside the queen, the two of them touching the star forge together, a burst of light saving entire worlds. And below it, written in ancient symbols, were 6 words. "Only together can the galaxy survive." Dante felt a cold chill. The queen looked at him slowly, her voice soft but filled with destiny. "You are not here by accident," she said. "You were brought here by fate." And before Dante could respond, the palace siren screamed. The enemy fleet fired its first weapon, and the universe began to shake, the attack on Kalara Prime. The entire palace shook as the first shockwave hit. The lights in the corridor flickered wildly, casting long shadows on the walls as Dante and Queen Lysara hurried out of the memory chamber. Dante's heartbeat felt like a pounding drum inside his skull. He could hear panicked footsteps in the distance, shouts from guards, and the rising hum of energy shields activating. Morgan ran toward them the moment they emerged, her face pale and terrified. "Your Majesty, the Vorathel ships are in attack formation," she gasped. "They are demanding the human, or they will destroy Kalara Prime." Dante froze at her words. The galaxy had never made sense to him until this moment. Now it felt like everything centered around him. In a deadly way, Queen Lysara moved forward with sharp determination. "No one touches the human ambassador," she said, her voice ringing like thunder through the corridor. Morgan stared at the Queen in disbelief. "Your Majesty, with respect, defending him will start a war." "It has already begun," Lysara replied, "because the war is not about him. It is about what he carries." Before Dante could ask what she meant, another explosion rocked the palace. Pieces of crystal fell from the ceiling, shattering across the glowing floor. Guards rushed forward, forming a defensive wall around the Queen, but Lysara lifted her hand, stopping them. "My place is at the forefront," she said, "not behind shields." They reached the massive balcony overlooking Kalara Prime's capital city. What Dante saw stole his breath. The sky was burning. Gigantic Vorathel ships hovered above the city like dark predators, their metallic wings spreading across the horizon. Energy blasts rained down on the city, exploding in bright waves of light. Alarms echoed from every direction, and the once beautiful skyline was covered in clouds of smoke. Dante felt sick. "This is because of me?" he whispered. Queen Lysara turned toward him slowly, her silver blue skin glowing with fierce determination. "No," she said firmly. "This is because of what you awaken." Before he could ask anything, a voice boomed from the sky, amplified across the entire city. It was deep, cold, and filled with malice. "Surrender the human," the voice commanded, "or watch your world fall." The Queen stepped forward, her voice echoing with authority. "This world is under my protection," she said, "and the human will not be surrendered." A blast of energy shot down from the enemy flagship. It was aimed directly at the balcony. Dante felt his body freeze. The attack came too fast. There was no time to run. In that split second, Queen Lysara did something no one expected. She grabbed Dante and pulled him close. Her arms wrapped around him, shielding him with her own body. A burst of silver blue light shot out from her skin, forming a protective barrier around them. The energy blast struck the barrier and shattered into fragments of light. Gasps erupted from guards and nobles watching from below. No one had ever seen the Queen use her personal shield to protect anyone, not even her own people. Yet here she was, holding a human with a fierce protectiveness that defied every Kalaran law. The shock wave knocked them backward, but the Queen kept her grip firm. Dante stared at her in disbelief. "You saved me," he whispered. The Queen's violet eyes were sharp and intense as she answered, "I did what destiny required." More explosions shook the air. The guards rushed forward, shouting orders, pulling the Queen and Dante back from the edge. One guard bowed deeply, his skin glowing yellow with fear. "Your Majesty, the palace shields are collapsing," he warned. "We must move to the lower chambers." But before they could retreat, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A pulse of ancient energy surged through the city. The Queen and Dante both felt it at the same time. A deep, powerful vibration like something massive had been activated underground. Dante stumbled, gripping the railing. "What was that?" he gasped. Queen Lysara's eyes widened. "The Star Forge," she breathed. "It's calling to you." Dante felt a sudden burning sensation in his chest. Something inside him pulsed in response to the energy wave. He fell to one knee, clutching his shirt as the heat spread through his body like liquid fire. The Queen knelt beside him, placing her hand on his back. Her touch cooled the burning sensation, but only slightly. Her voice was soft yet filled with urgency. "The Star Forge awakens only for the chosen bloodline," she whispered, "and it senses your presence." Another explosion rocked the balcony, breaking the floor in several places. Guards dragged the Queen and Dante away just as the edge collapsed into the city below. They ran through the palace halls, passing injured civilians and panicking diplomats. Dante's vision blurred as the burning inside him grew stronger. Morgan ran beside him, horrified. "What is happening to him?" she shouted. The Queen answered without slowing. "The ancient power is unlocking itself." They reached the inner courtyard, where royal ships awaited evacuation. But before they could board, a loud humming sound filled the air. Dante looked up. A Vorathel assault pod was descending directly toward them, its metal spikes glowing red, preparing to break through the palace shields. The Queen turned to Dante. "Listen to me," she said urgently. "If they capture you, the galaxy will fall." Dante shook his head weakly. "But I don't know what they want with me." The Queen leaned closer, her voice a whisper meant for him alone. "They want your bloodline," she said. "They want the Starforge power you carry." The assault pod crashed into the courtyard, sending debris flying everywhere. Guards raised their weapons, preparing for the worst. The pod doors opened slowly, steam pouring out. Inside stood tall, armored figures with glowing crimson eyes. Their leader pointed directly at Dante. "There," he hissed, "the last blood heir." Dante stepped back instinctively, his heart pounding so fast it felt like it might burst. The Queen moved in front of him again, her voice cold and deadly. "You will not touch him." The Vorathel commander tilted his head. "And who will stop us?" he asked. The Queen lifted her hand. The air around her shimmered. A glowing weapon formed in her palm, a blade made of pure starlight. Her eyes burned with power no one had ever witnessed from her before. "I will," she said, and the battle for Dante's destiny began. The Starforge bloodline. The courtyard exploded into chaos as Queen Lysara stepped forward with her starlight blade. Its glowing edge cut through the smoke-filled air, illuminating her fierce expression. The Vorathel soldiers tightened their formation, their armor pulsing with crimson energy. Their leader stared at the Queen without fear. "You cannot protect him forever," he hissed. "The Starforge belongs to us." Dante felt the burning in his chest spreading again. Every heartbeat felt louder, heavier, almost unnatural. He stumbled back as his vision blurred, shapes twisted around him. The palace, the soldiers, even the Queen's blade, all shifting like reflections in water. Morgan grabbed his arm, panic rising in her voice. "Dante, stay with us. Come on, breathe." But Dante couldn't focus on her words. A low humming sound grew inside his mind. It was ancient, steady, and terrifyingly familiar. It felt like something inside him was waking up. The Vorathel commander raised his hand, ordering his soldiers to advance. Queen Lysara stepped in front of Dante, her blade raised in a perfect defensive arc. "You will not lay a hand on him," she said, her voice like cold fire. The commander sneered. "You do not even understand what the human carries." "I understand enough," she replied, "and it is more than you deserve to touch." With a roar, the Vorathel soldiers charged. The Queen moved like lightning, her blades sliced through the air, leaving trails of silver and gold. Each strike was so precise it looked like she was dancing through the battlefield. Dante watched in awe. She was not just a queen, she was a warrior forged by centuries of battle. But the Vorathel soldiers were strong. For every soldier she cut down, two more appeared, surrounding them. Guards rushed in, forming a protective line around Dante and Morgan. But the enemy soldiers broke through with brutal efficiency. "Dante, we need to move!" Morgan shouted, pulling him toward a side passage. But before they could escape, a blast hit the ground near them, throwing dust and sparks into the air. Dante fell hard onto the broken stones. As he struggled to rise, the humming in his chest reached a breaking point. A wave of light burst out of him, spreading across the courtyard like a shock wave. Everyone, human, Kalaran, and Vorathel, froze in stunned silence. Even the Queen turned toward him with wide eyes. Dante stared at his own hands, glowing with pale golden light. The burning sensation faded, replaced by a strange calm. This time he wasn't afraid. He felt connected, connected to something older than every star in the sky. The Vorathel commander pointed at him, trembling with rage. "There!" he shouted. "The Starforge bloodline awakens!" Queen Lasara's skin shifted to a darker silver, the sign of sudden realization. "Dante," she said quietly, almost reverently, "your ancestors were not simple humans." Dante shook his head, struggling to understand. "What are you talking about?" The queen stepped closer, her voice filled with a truth that shook him. "The Starforge builders were ancient," she said, "a species that shaped stellar energy itself. They vanished long before our civilizations rose. But their power, their legacy, survived through one hidden bloodline." She looked directly into Dante's eyes. "Yours!" The ground trembled again as another massive explosion echoed across the city. The Vorathel soldiers regrouped, encouraged by their commander's fury. "We cannot allow him to live," the commander snarled. "He carries the key to the Starforge." Queen Lysera raised her blade. "He will live," she said, "even if I must fight all of you myself." Before the battle could restart, a deep rumble shook the entire palace. A bright beam of light shot out from the ground far beneath them, piercing the sky like a signal. Dante felt the pull again, the same pull he felt inside the memory chamber. The Starforge was calling him, but now it was calling louder, loud enough to shake the planet. The queen grabbed Dante's arm, pulling him close. "We must reach the Starforge vault," she said. "It lies beneath the capital." Morgan stared in disbelief. "Beneath the city? That's impossible. Humans never built anything here." The queen shook her head. "Humans did not," she said. "The Starforge builders did." As they ran through the palace corridors, Dante's mind raced. The Starforge, a cosmic weapon, a relic from a forgotten civilization, and somehow his bloodline was connected to it. They entered the lower levels of the palace through hidden doors. Guards led the way, fighting off Vorathel soldiers trying to break in from above. The queen guided Dante through passageways he never knew existed. Morgan followed, still shaken but determined to stay by Dante's side. At last they reached a massive circular platform carved into the stone. Strange runes glowed around its edges. The queen placed her hand on the center. The platform responded instantly, lighting up. "The vault will only open with two signatures," she said. "The signature of a sovereign," she looked at Dante, "and the signature of the Starforge heir." Dante hesitated. "What if this kills me?" he asked, his voice trembling. The queen's eyes softened. "If fate wished for you to die, you would not have survived this long," she said. "Now place your hand beside mine." Dante slowly raised his hand, his pulse hammered with fear and curiosity. He pressed his palm against the glowing stone. At the moment his skin touched it, the entire chamber exploded with blinding light. Visions flashed before his eyes. Battles across galaxies, ancient builders forging stars, a great throne floating in the void. He saw himself standing beside Queen Lasara, facing a cosmic storm. He heard a distant voice whisper, "You are the key." The floor beneath them shifted. The platform began descending into darkness. As it lowered, Dante heard the Vorathel soldiers breaking into the upper chambers. Their commander shouted from above, "Do not let them reach the Starforge." But it was too late. The vault sealed itself shut. Dante, the queen, and Morgan descended into the hidden world beneath the capital, a world built for only one purpose: to awaken the true power of Dante's ancient bloodline. And whatever waited below would decide the fate of the galaxy. When the alien queen sat beside me, the platform continued sinking into the darkness beneath Kalara Prime. For a long moment, Dante could hear nothing except the deep hum of ancient machinery waking up around them. The air grew colder, heavier, almost electric. Morgan clung to the railing, trembling, while Queen Lasara stood with perfect composure beside Dante. Her presence, warm and steady, kept his fear from spiraling out of control. As the platform reached the bottom, a massive chamber opened before them. It was unlike anything Dante had ever seen. No palace, no human structure, No ship in the galaxy could compare. It was a place carved not by tools, but by cosmic energy itself. The walls shimmered like molten silver, runes pulsing with soft golden light that matched the glow beneath Dante's skin. Queen Lysara stepped forward slowly. "This is the heart of the Star Forge," she said, her voice echoing through the vast chamber. "It has slept for thousands of years, and it wakes because you have arrived." Dante felt the same burning in his chest intensify again. It didn't hurt this time. It felt like something remembering its own name. He walked forward, drawn by a force he could not resist. At the center of the chamber stood a large ancient throne. But it wasn't like the queen's throne. It floated above a pool of light, suspended by invisible energy. Above it hung a glowing star-shaped artifact, rotating slowly in the air like a beating heart. Dante froze, breathless, the silhouette of the throne, the distant visions he saw. "Everything matched," Morgan whispered in awe. This, this is human technology?" Queen Lysara answered softly. "No," she said. "This is older than humans. But his ancestors, they were chosen by it." The runes on the floor lit up in a spiral pattern, the same pattern that appeared in Dante's visions. The queen placed her hand on the glowing platform beneath the throne. A soft vibration filled the room. "The Star Forge must be activated by two souls," she said. "One descended from the ancient makers." She looked at Dante, "and one who carries the silver blood of the Kalaran queens." Dante blinked in confusion. "Why you?" he asked. "You never said—" The queen stepped closer, her skin flickering with a warm tone he had never seen from her before. "I am the last of my lineage," she said softly, "the only one able to awaken the throne's second seal." Before Dante could respond, the entire chamber shook violently. The ceiling cracked as explosions sounded from above. The Vorathel soldiers had breached the upper levels. Their commander's voice boomed through a metallic speaker. "Give us the Star Forge air," he roared, "or we will burn this world to ash." Queen Lysara turned toward Dante, her expression fierce and unwavering. "We have no more time," she said. "Sit on the throne." Dante felt his heart stop. "I'm not ready," he whispered. "No one ever is," the queen replied gently. "But destiny does not wait for fear to fade." With trembling steps, Dante approached the floating throne. He hesitated only a second before sitting down. The moment his body touched the seat, a burst of golden light shot upward. The star-shaped artifact above him spun faster, glowing brighter. Dante gasped as thousands of images flooded his mind. Ancient builders shaping energy, forging stars, creating weapons that could protect entire galaxies. The queen stepped onto the platform beside him. As she placed her hand on the armrest, a second burst of silver light shot upward, merging with the gold. The throne glowed brighter than a newborn sun. The chamber trembled, and the runes carved into the walls flared awake, like ancient guardians rising from slumber. Then something impossible happened. The throne shifted, adjusting itself. A new seat emerged, right beside Dante's. Queen Lysara froze for a heartbeat, stunned. In all her centuries of rule, no throne had ever moved for anyone. But this one created a second seat, specifically for her, because the Star Forge did not see two beings, it saw two destinies entwined. With slow, deliberate grace, Queen Lysara sat beside Dante. The moment she did, the chamber erupted with spiraling beams of intertwined silver and gold. Energy surged upward, forming a massive shield that burst through the ground above. The shield expanded until it covered the entire planet. Outside, the Vorathel flagship fired its planet-killer weapon, but the energy beams struck the newly formed shield and shattered like glass. The commander screamed orders, but their attacks were useless. The Star-forged shield was impenetrable. Queen Lysara turned her head slightly, watching the cosmic shield with calm certainty. "This," she said softly to Dante, "is why the ancient prophecy showed us together." Dante felt his breathing steady. The pain in his chest faded, replaced by a sense of belonging. As if he had finally stepped into the life he was always meant to live, the throne spoke in a deep, resonant voice. Starforge heir confirmed. Silver Queen confirmed. Dual command recognized. Morgan stared up at them in disbelief, tears in her eyes. You two, you're leading the Starforge together, she whispered. Queen Lysara looked at Dante, her expression softer than anything he had ever seen from her. You are no longer only a human ambassador, she said. You are the key to a forgotten age. And I am bound to walk beside you. The throne brightened, lifting them higher. Light swirled around them like galaxies being born. Dante felt strength flowing into him. Ancient knowledge, old power, new purpose. Above them, the Vorithel fleet began to retreat in terror. They had faced something older and stronger than their entire empire. When the chamber finally settled, Dante looked at the queen. Why me? He asked softly. She held his gaze. When I saw you, she whispered, the throne inside me reacted first. It chose you before I did. For the first time, her lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. A small, delicate expression, but powerful enough to change Dante's entire world. She reached out, resting her hand gently over his. From this moment, she said, her voice soft as starlight, our fate is shared, and the galaxy will remember the day the alien queen sat beside a human. By choice, the chamber glowed brighter, the throne rose higher, and together Dante and Queen Lysara looked out into the universe. Two beings chosen by destiny, two souls seated side by side. At the dawn of a new galactic age,